I've been babysitting since I was 16. It started as a way to earn gas money, then turned into something I was genuinely good at. Parents trusted me. Kids liked me. I had references, background checks, the whole deal. By the time I was 22, I'd babysat in more houses than I could count. Big suburban homes, cramped apartments, rural farmhouses miles away from town. Nothing scared me anymore. Or at least, that's what I thought. This story happened in October, just outside of Maple Ridge, Oregon. A quiet town where people wave at strangers and lock their doors out of habit, not fear. The kind of place where nothing bad ever makes the news. I wish I had trusted my instincts that night. I got the message on a Tuesday afternoon. "Hi, this is Laura Henderson. We got your number from the Maple Ridge Sitter Board. Are you available Friday night?" Normal enough. We exchanged details. She and her husband were attending a fundraiser downtown. They needed someone from 6:30 p.m. to midnight to watch their 6-year-old son, Evan. Pay was great, almost suspiciously great, but not unheard of for last-minute bookings. When I asked for the address, there was a brief pause. Then she sent it. The house was at the very edge of town, near the woods. I remember zooming in on Google Maps and noticing how isolated it was. The nearest neighbor was almost half a mile away. I hesitated, but I needed the money, so I agreed. Friday evening, I drove out just as the sun was beginning to dip below the trees. The road narrowed into a single lane, surrounded by tall pines that blocked out most of the light. The Henderson house came into view suddenly. A large 2-story colonial with white siding and dark windows. It looked well kept, but something about it felt quiet, not peaceful, just empty. Laura greeted me at the door. She was polite but distracted, constantly checking the time. Her husband, Mark, shook my hand quickly and went back upstairs. Evan peeked out from behind the staircase. He was pale, with dark circles under his eyes. "This is Evan," Laura said. "He's already had dinner, just snacks if he gets hungry." Bedtime is at 9. Evan didn't say hello. He just stared at me. Before leaving, Laura paused, hand on the door. "Oh, and if you hear any noises upstairs after Evan's asleep, just ignore them. Old house." She laughed. I did too. I shouldn't have. Everything was normal at first. Evan and I played board games in the living room. He barely spoke, answering questions with nods or shrugs. Eventually, I asked him what he wanted to do. "Can we keep the lights on?" he said quietly. "All of them?" "Yes," I smiled. "Of course." By 8:45, I guided him upstairs. His room was at the end of a long hallway. Every door along the way was closed. I tucked him in, read him a short story, and turned off the lamp. Just as I reached the door, Evan grabbed my wrist. His grip was surprisingly strong. "Don't let him see you," he whispered. I laughed nervously. "See who?" But Evan had already turned away, pulling the blanket over his head. The first noise. At exactly 9:17 p.m., I heard footsteps. Slow, heavy. They came from upstairs. I froze on the couch, heart pounding, reminding myself of Laura's words. The footsteps stopped directly above the living room. Then came a sound I can only describe as dragging, like something heavy being pulled across the floor. I texted Laura. "Hey, just hearing some noises upstairs. Everything okay?" No reply. At 9:42 p.m., my phone rang. It was Laura. Before I could say anything, she whispered, "Did you leave?" "What? No." Her breath hitched. "Listen to me carefully," she said. "Is Evan asleep?" "Yes." "Good. Do not go upstairs. Do not leave the living room." My heart started racing. "Laura, what's going on?" She hesitated too long. "There's someone else in the house." I laughed again. "This isn't funny." "I'm not joking," she said. "We thought he left." "He?" The line went dead. The hallway camera. I remembered the security tablet on the kitchen counter. Laura had mentioned the cameras earlier, just casually. My hands shook as I picked it up. There were 3 camera feeds: front door, backyard, and upstairs hallway. I tapped the hallway feed. At first, I didn't see anything. Then, a shape moved at the far end of the screen. A tall figure standing completely still in front of Evan's room. Its head was tilted at an unnatural angle, and it was smiling. The man in the house. The smile wasn't normal. Too wide, too stretched. Its eyes reflected the camera's infrared light, glowing faintly. I dropped the tablet. The footsteps started again. This time, they were on the stairs. Each step was slow, deliberate, like it knew I was listening. I grabbed Evan's baby monitor and whispered his name. Evan? His voice came through immediately. He's awake, he whispered back. He's coming. Who is he? I asked. Evan started crying. The man who watches me sleep. I ran to the front door. It wouldn't open. The deadbolt was jammed. That's when I heard breathing behind me. Not loud. Right by my ear. I turned slowly. Nothing was there. But the living room mirror reflected the staircase behind me. And in it, I saw him, standing halfway down the stairs, watching. The truth. Laura called again, sobbing. We didn't tell you everything, she said. The house belonged to Mark's brother. He lived here alone. After Evan was born, he started coming out of his room at night. My blood went cold. He said he was just checking on the baby, she continued, standing in the doorway, smiling. What happened to him? I whispered. We locked him in the attic, she said. He disappeared last year. We thought he ran away. The breathing was louder now. Right behind me. Babysitter, a voice crooned from the darkness. Soft, playful. I like when they stay late. The lights flickered. I ran to the kitchen, grabbing the largest knife I could find. The tablet buzzed on the counter. The hallway feed was gone, replaced by a message. Smile for the camera. The back door. I hadn't tried the back door. I ran, slipping on the tile, heart pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. The door opened. Cold air hit my face. I sprinted into the yard, screaming Evan's name. Behind me, I heard laughter. Hi, Giddy. I turned just long enough to see him standing in the doorway, waving. Police found Evan hiding under his bed. They never found the man. Laura and Mark moved out the next day. The house is still empty. Sometimes when I drive past it, I see movement in the upstairs hallway and a face pressed against the glass, smiling. If you ever take a babysitting job and the parents tell you to ignore the noises, don't, because sometimes you're not the only one watching the child. I took the babysitting job because it sounded easy. That was my first mistake. The listing was posted on a local community board in Cedar Falls, Iowa. Nothing fancy, just a short message. Looking for an experienced babysitter. 1 child, Friday night, cash. I had just moved to town for college and needed money fast. I messaged the number, expecting the usual back and forth. Instead, I got a call almost immediately. The woman on the phone sounded relieved. Thank God, she said. Yes, we still need someone. Tonight. Her name was Melissa Carter. She and her husband were driving out of town for an emergency and needed someone to watch their 8-year-old daughter, Lily, from 7 p.m. until late. How late? I asked. There was a pause. Until she's asleep, Melissa said. We'll be back before morning. Something about the way she said it made my stomach tighten. But I said yes. The Carter house sat at the very end of a cul-de-sac, surrounded by identical homes that all looked slightly abandoned. No porch lights were on, no cars in driveways. Melissa met me at the door, already wearing her coat. Her husband, Eric, didn't even come downstairs. She's upstairs, Melissa said, handing me a small tablet. This controls the baby monitor. I frowned. She's 8, right? Melissa smiled tightly. Yes, but it helps her feel safe. Before I could ask more, Eric shouted from upstairs. We have to go. Now. Melissa leaned in close. Do not unplug the monitor, she whispered, no matter what. Then they were gone. Lily's room was at the top of the stairs, door half open. She was sitting on her bed, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the wall. Hey, Lily, I said gently. I'm Alex. She didn't turn around. Is he still asleep? She asked. Who? She finally looked at me. Her eyes were red and swollen, like she'd been crying for hours. The man in the camera. Back downstairs, I sat on the couch and turned on the tablet. The screen split into 2 feeds. One was Lily's room. The other was her closet. I blinked. The closet camera showed nothing but darkness and a sliver of hanging clothes. I tapped the screen, assuming it was a glitch. A message popped up. Closet view enabled. My heart skipped. Why would there be a camera in an 8-year-old's closet? At 8:15 p.m., Lily came downstairs for a snack. She refused to sit with her back to the hallway. Why do you keep looking over your shoulder? I asked. He moves when you don't look, she whispered. I laughed weakly. Moves where? The closet, she said. Sometimes he hums. Right on cue, the tablet buzzed. A low, distorted humming filled the room. It wasn't coming from the tablet speakers. It was coming from upstairs. I texted Melissa. Hey, Lily seems scared. Can you tell me about the closet camera? The reply came instantly. Please keep her calm. She gets confused at night. I typed again. Who is the man she's talking about? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No reply. At 9 p.m., Lily refused to go upstairs. I can sleep on the couch, she begged. I'll stay with you, I said, trying to sound confident. She shook her head violently. No, he can't see the couch. That did it. I took her hand and led her upstairs, every step feeling heavier than the last. When we reached her room, the closet door was open. Just a crack. I closed it. The humming stopped. Back downstairs, I kept the tablet on my lap. At 9:27 p.m., the closet feed changed. Something shifted inside. A shape barely visible. Then a finger appeared, long, pale, hooking around the edge of the door from the inside. I dropped the tablet. From upstairs, Lily screamed. I ran upstairs and locked Lily's bedroom door. She was sobbing, pointing at the baby monitor on her dresser. He's awake, she cried. The monitor screen flickered, then showed a message. Playback available. Against my better judgment, I pressed it. The screen showed Lily's room, but the timestamp read 2:14 a.m. A man stood in the corner. Tall, thin, his face blurred, like the camera couldn't focus on it. He leaned down toward Lily's bed and whispered something. The audio crackled. I see you. Melissa finally answered my call. Her voice was shaking. We didn't put the camera there, she said. What? I whispered. The house came with it. The previous owners said it was for monitoring. Monitoring what? Our daughter, she sobbed. She kept saying someone was watching her sleep. We thought if we could see the room, it would stop. Stop what? Melissa started crying harder. Stop him from getting closer. A soft click echoed from the hallway. The sound of a door unlocking. The closet. The baby monitor camera feed switched automatically. The door was open. The man stepped out. He stood impossibly tall, his head nearly brushing the ceiling. And he was smiling directly at the camera. At us. I grabbed Lily and backed toward the window. The monitor speaker crackled. Don't unplug it, the man said calmly. I need it. The bedroom door handle rattled. The lights went out. Total darkness, except for the glow of the monitor. I smashed the window with a chair. Glass exploded outward. Cold night air rushed in. The monitor screamed. Not a sound, a scream, high-pitched and furious. The door burst open. I didn't look back. I lifted Lily through the window and followed her out, slicing my arm on the glass. We ran barefoot into the street, screaming for help. Aftermath. Police searched the house until dawn. They found the cameras. They found recordings, but they found no man. The Carters never returned. Lily was placed with relatives out of state. The house was condemned. Weeks later, I got a package. No return address. Inside was the tablet, already turned on. The screen showed a new message, babysitter view enabled. And behind my reflection, something smiled. Babies cry. That's just a fact of life. They cry when they're hungry. They cry when they're tired. They cry when they want to be held. So when I took a babysitting job for a 9-month-old baby who never cried, I should have known something was wrong. But I didn't. And that mistake almost cost me everything. The listing. I found the job on a neighborhood Facebook group in Ridgewood, New Jersey. The post was short and oddly formal. Looking for an overnight babysitter, 1 infant, experience required, quiet home. Overnight jobs paid well, and I had infant experience. I messaged the poster, Karen Holt, and she replied within minutes. She sounded calm, too calm. They needed someone from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Her and her husband worked night shifts at a private medical facility. The baby's name was Noah. Does he wake up at night? I asked. There was a pause. No, Karen said. He sleeps very well. The Holt house sat on a tree-lined street, neat and spotless. No toys in the yard, no baby decorations on the door. Just a plain white porch light glowing softly. Karen greeted me with a tired smile. Shoes off, she said quickly. Please. Inside, the house smelled like disinfectant. Everything was white. Walls, furniture, curtains. It felt more like a clinic than a home. Her husband, Thomas, didn't look at me once. He just grabbed his keys and waited by the door. Karen handed me a printed sheet of instructions. Feeding schedule. Temperature settings. And one line underlined twice. Do not move the crib. I laughed lightly. Of course not. She didn't laugh back. Meeting Noah. Noah's room was at the end of a long hallway. The door was already open. The room was immaculate. No stuffed animals, no mobiles, no baby monitor visible. The crib sat in the exact center of the room. Noah lay on his back, eyes open, wide open. He wasn't moving. I leaned closer, panic rising, until I saw his chest rise and fall. Hi, Noah, I whispered. He didn't blink. Karen hovered behind me. He doesn't like being picked up, she said. You can sit with him if you want. Just don't touch him unless necessary. That was the first time I felt fear. After the parents left, the house became painfully quiet. No TV noise, no ticking clocks, no outside sounds. I sat on the couch, watching the hallway. At 11 p.m., I realized something strange. I hadn't heard a single sound from Noah's room. No babbling, no coughing, no shifting. I walked back down the hallway. Noah was in the exact same position, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. Sweetie, I whispered. His eyes slowly turned toward me, not like a baby, like an adult. Tracking. That's when I saw it. A small black lens embedded in the ceiling corner, pointed directly at the crib. Not a baby monitor, a security camera. The red light blinked once, then turned solid. The first noise. At 12:14 a.m., I heard a sound from the walls. A low vibration, almost like breathing. It wasn't coming from Noah's room. It was coming from everywhere. The floorboards hummed faintly under my feet. I texted Karen. Hey, just checking in. Everything's okay, but the house is making some noises. The reply came instantly. That's normal. Please don't wake Noah. I stared at the message. I hadn't mentioned Noah. At 1 a.m., Noah finally moved. His arm lifted. Slowly. Too slowly. He turned his head toward the doorway and smiled. Babies don't smile like that. It wasn't clumsy or cute. It was deliberate. My instincts screamed at me to pick him up, but I remembered the rule. Do not move the crib. Then I heard a whisper, right behind me. He doesn't like when you stand there. I spun around. No one. But the camera light blinked again. I searched the house, heart racing. Behind the kitchen pantry was a door I hadn't noticed earlier. It was locked, until it wasn't. Inside was a small room filled with monitors. Every angle of Noah's room. Live feeds, old recordings, dates going back years. But Noah was only 9 months old. I pressed one recording. The screen showed the crib. But the baby inside was different, smaller. Then another recording. Another baby. Same crib. Same room. Different dates. Different children. Karen called me at 2:37 a.m. Her voice was flat. Is Noah awake? Yes, I whispered. What is he? She exhaled slowly. We don't know, she said. He arrived after the third one. My blood ran cold. The third what? The third baby that stopped crying. From the monitor, Noah sat up. No sound. No struggle. He placed his feet inside the crib and stood. His neck bent slightly, listening. Then his head turned directly toward the camera, toward me. The monitor speaker crackled. Why are you scared? A voice asked. It wasn't a baby's voice. The crib moves. The floor shook. The crib slid an inch. I remembered the rule. I remembered why. Because Noah wasn't trapped in the crib. The crib was trapping him. I ran. Out the front door. Barefoot. Screaming. Behind me, every light in the house turned on at once. I heard a sound like fabric tearing. And then, crying. Real crying. Loud. Angry. Hungry. Aftermath. Police found the house empty. No baby. No parents. Just the crib. Moved. Weeks later, I checked the community board. A new post had appeared. Looking for an overnight babysitter. 1 infant. Quiet home. Same wording. Different name. And in the comments, a single reply from an account with no profile picture. He sleeps very well.